So welcome everyone. My name is Camille Gallus. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the partnerships coordinator at Offering Tree. If you're unfamiliar with Offering Tree, we're an all-in-one business platform for wellness entrepreneurs. So we make it easier, less expensive, and less stressful to build your online business. And part of the way we do that is through these free monthly webinars with our partner network. And that's what you're here for. This is one of them. So the idea for this webinar came right from our Facebook group. I'll drop the link so you all can join if you're interested. But our users told us they were interested in social media growth. And what better way to do that than Instagram? And who better to talk about Instagram than Amanda McKinney? We're so happy to have her here. So with that, oh, and just a couple housekeeping things. If you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I'll take a look, and there'll be specific times when Amanda will be like answering questions. So we'll get to it. If you need anything, drop in the chat, and I'll turn it away to Amanda. Thanks everyone for being here. I'll stop sharing my screen. There you go.
Wonderful. Okay, well, I'll share my screen and I'm going to add on to, if you put stuff in the chat, I may or may not see it. Camille will be looking at it, but if you want to add a specific question to the Q&A section, there's like a little button at the bottom with a Q&A bubble, if that makes sense. You can click that and I will be looking at those questions afterwards. But I hope there's lots of chat happening in the actual chat, so I just might easily miss a question. So let me share my screen really quickly. Okay. All right. You should be able to see. I'm going to open up the chat. Let me know if you can see my screen that has lots of pink on it. So hopefully everyone can see.
I can see it.
All right. Wonderful. Okay. Now I'm going to turn off the chat. Perfect. So we're talking about Instagram today, and I love Instagram. Instagram is my favorite social media platform, and I know that there's so many questions about this. So this is like the basics of Instagram, but we're going to go through a lot of content today. I can't wait to dive in and hear what you're thinking about Instagram as well. And if we have not met yet, I am Amanda McKinney. I'm a marketing coach for yoga teachers, and I love Offering Tree. So I talk about Offering Tree on my platform all the time. I'm definitely one of their partners. I adore them. I think they're fantastic. So I'm really glad you're here. And I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and then we'll dive into Instagram because that's what we're here for. I'm also a certified yoga teacher. I don't actively teach, but I did go to yoga teacher training, and I work with yoga teachers in particular. So I know there's probably some of you here who are wellness professionals, not necessarily a yoga teacher, but you could take all of what I'm about to share and apply it to your business as well. And I have a podcast that is Marketing Yoga with Confidence. And then I also have digital courses and a membership. And it's all related to helping yoga teachers build thriving yoga businesses. It's my passion. I'm super excited about it. And I can't wait to dive in and talk about Instagram today. So, talking about Instagram, here's what we're talking about today: who's using Instagram, how to best use Instagram, how to see growth using Instagram, engagement tips to get started, because everything is about engagement on Instagram. And I've got lots of resources and tools for you. So, all of them are going to be linked. And again, just in case you weren't here when we first got started, you are going to get all of my slides in the follow-up email. Camille's going to send that out, and you'll have all of these slides. So all of the resources will be listed as well. Different types of content on Instagram. There's so many, and we even talked about it before we got started of like, what is your favorite type of content on Instagram? So we're going to dive into all of those. And because there's so many options of how to share content on Instagram, we're going to talk about repurposing different pieces of content so you're not always starting from scratch. So the first thing is, who's using Instagram? So everyone here is probably using Instagram. So the first thing I would say is, inside the chat, I want you to say, what's one thing you notice about how you use Instagram? Maybe you notice that you look at it for news. Maybe you look at it for inspiration. Maybe you love looking at stories but don't really pay attention to anyone's grid, or you're confused about reels so you don't know what they are but you happen to be watching them all the time. So put in the chat something that you notice about how you're using Instagram. And what this is going to do is it's going to show you that everyone's probably in similar spaces and has similar things that they are noticing about themselves of how they use Instagram. This also will give you an idea of how people are using Instagram. So everyone here can learn from each other as well. So I'm going to share the stats while you're doing that in the chat. There are more than 1 billion active users on Instagram. And just so you know, we're talking about this at the time of this recording, which is April 2021. I'm sure these stats are going to be different in a week, right? Because everything is always changing, but there's a lot of people using Instagram. Typically, right now, 18 to 24-year-olds is the largest demographic group. That doesn't mean your dream student of someone who's 45 is not on Instagram. It just means this is the largest demographic group right now. And more than half of the global Instagram users are younger than 34. Again, this doesn't mean that people over 34 aren't using Instagram. It's just the largest group. And 500 million accounts use Instagram stories every day. 500 million. I put this in here because I want you to see how much people are consuming different types of content, and stories are huge. If I had the stats for Reels, I would put that on there, but I don't have that stat. But I would bet that that one is going to be the next thing that's going to reach some pretty high numbers. And currently on Instagram, there's the only way to have a community and a group feel on Instagram is through direct messages where you can have a group chat. That's really the only way. So like on Facebook, you can have a group of people and it's kind of its separate thing. You can't really do that on Instagram right now, but you can have group conversations. So before I go into this, I want to see the chat and see how people are using Instagram, getting information, advertising, and sharing quotes. And just looking at pictures, I love this. This is so good. So good. And I'm noticing we're going to get into how to best use Instagram, which we're going to talk about. And everyone is kind of self-identifying right now. So this is absolutely perfect to set us up to talk about how to best use Instagram. So I want to remind everyone here to take it one step at a time. Instagram is a big platform with lots of options, but you don't have to do it all at the same time. This is where most people get really overwhelmed with Instagram, but you don't have to do that. So I want you to think about this in different steps. Step number one is simply knowing that it's the platform you want to use and that your dream student is using it. What I mean when I say dream student, it's whoever you are trying to work with in your business, whether you're a yoga teacher or a wellness professional in any other wellness profession. Think about who is your dream student. If that person is not using Instagram, you don't want to be there because it's not going to be worth your time. So it's really, really important that you don't skip this step. Because what I see so often is that people will say, I know I should be on Instagram. And I want to really showcase that word should. When we think this, when we say it, I want it to be like a red flag of, do I really need to do that? Or do I just feel like I need to do that because other people are doing it? So the step number one is really identifying, is this the best platform for me? And do I want to do this? Is it something that I really want to do? I'm going to guess that most of you already know, yes, Instagram is where I want to be because you're here today. So most of you have surpassed and gone through step number one. But if you haven't thought about this, or maybe you just felt like you had to be on Instagram, I want to remind you that you don't have to be. Step number two is to play around. So I'm a marketing coach and I love everything strategy related, and we're going to get there. But you don't start learning a process or a program or a channel, a marketing channel, without learning more about it at first. Like you can't You can't have a big strategy before you understand how to use the platform and how your audience is using it. So I want you to just play. And this is where I would bet most people are today, is playing around with what you like the most. We asked that question early on of what content do you like the most? And everyone was chiming in. And so what you want to do is you want to think about, okay, how do I like to use Instagram? And then you start to move forward. Step number 3, once you've played around, then it's time to find consistency with when you're going to share information on Instagram and find it for you. Now, you can go to Google and read somewhere where it says post every day at this particular time. And that's what people often want to know from me. When should I post? What days and what time? The answer is you need to find a time that works for you. What works with your life? And when you can actually keep this up and have a realistic goal to post consistently, because consistency matters so much more than frequency when it comes to social media. Then step number 4 is then creating the strategy. So that's when you really want to get strategic with how you're using a platform. But until you get there, there's playing around and finding what works for you that you really want to tap into. So I just said I probably think that most of you are in step 2, but I would love for you to put it in the chat. Where are you in this? Because each step of the way that we're talking about today, I'm going to be referencing these different steps. So I want you to know exactly where you are. So again, most of you are probably in step 2, where it's time just to play and see what's going on and see how you like to use Instagram. So how to use growth with Instagram, or how to see growth on Instagram. And what I mean here is, yes, growth of what's happening on Instagram, but really what matters is growth in your business. That's what we're really wanting to look at, because growth on Instagram doesn't just mean followers. We want to see growth in your business and not just the number of followers, because that doesn't matter. What matters is how are you growing your business? And so often we can get caught up in how many followers someone has or how many likes are on a specific post, but that really doesn't bring you revenue. So you want to think about it in terms of growth of your business. And remember that giving will equal growth. And this is going to seem very backwards from what a lot of people often think in our own minds, because you really want to share and give and teach and inspire on Instagram. So this really starts in step 3, but it can start in step 2 as well. When you're starting to think about giving is really what I want you to remember here. And then stepping into that consistency. So once you get to step 3 and you're thinking about consistency, and that's when it's like, okay, I'm going to post 2 times a week, or I'm going to post 3 times a week. Once you declare what your consistency is, you're going to have to think, okay, well, now what am I going to share at those times? When I want to say, like when I'm saying share 3 times a week or post 3 times a week, what will those posts entail, right? That's when you want to think about, how can I give to my audience? And remember, I said something about engagement at the beginning, and I want to really hone in on this. And we're going to talk more about engagement, but I want you to remember that it's really about engagement. So there were several of you, I only skimmed the chat, but saying like, I post to get people in class, I promote my class schedule. And if you can imagine, when you do that, you probably don't get very much engagement on that post, because no one's talking to you in the comments, because it's not really that type of a post. What you want to think about when it comes to engagement and giving on Instagram is, how can you foster more engagement on Instagram itself? It will build your business, I promise. It will build your business later, but you really want to capture and have some engagement on actual Instagram, because that's going to help you overall. And I want you to think about Instagram as a tool to teach, inspire, and share. And you're going to hear me say this over and over again. I want you to give on Instagram, because that's what is going to help you build your business. I know it seems crazy, but it really does work. And whether you're a yoga teacher or any type of wellness professional, there aren't many people that I work with that aren't like, I just want to give whatever it is away for free. I just want to help people. As a wellness professional, that's what you want to do, most likely, is help people. So this is your chance. You get to use Instagram as the tool to do that, and it will in turn grow your business. So remembering that 80%, like if you looked at a whole month of what you shared on Instagram for a whole month, I would want you to see that 80% of it was value add information, giving, giving, giving. 20% would be promotional. Again, I know it seems backwards, but this is where the magic happens, is where you are giving so much on a platform that people start to know, like, and trust you so that then your business does grow. So I want you to think about something and think about what is one thing that you could give away today. Maybe it's a specific, I think in terms of yoga teacher, so you have to give me some grace on that. So if you're a yoga teacher, you'll love it. But it's like if you could give away a tip for someone to just take a pause and take a breath today, for like a breath technique or a stretch that would help their lower back after they've been sitting at a computer all day. What is something that you could give away today on Instagram just to share that piece of information? And like Camille was talking about earlier when we first started, reels are great for that because they're quick. They're quick and easy. And so in 15 or 30 seconds, what could you share with someone on Instagram and help them feel some sort of relief today? That's what I want you to think about and put it in the chat. I would love to see how you're thinking through ideas, and share it with each other and get ideas from each other as well. So I'm going to check the chat real quick if I can. Let's see. Oh, it's not letting me do it. There we go.
Are you in, Amanda?
I am. I'm in. All right. Well, okay. So I'm seeing a lot of steps. I'm not seeing ideas yet, but I want you to think about those ideas. Like, what could you give away? Something on Instagram. What could you do? I want you to share some ideas. If any of my students are here, I would love for you to share ideas because you know I share them all the time. So get the ideas going inside the chat so that everyone can see how things are feeling. Okay, so we're going to dive into engagement. Remember, I said engagement is key. Oops, there we go. So engagement really starts later. Once you have the content going, I mean, it can happen right away, but you'll be more strategic. Once you have a plan and you're sharing consistently, that's when you'll start to think about engagement. If you're just playing around, have fun with it. And if engagement happens, that's wonderful, but don't really focus on trying to foster it too much right away when you're just playing around and having fun. The way that you can do this is by pre-scheduling, and remember, I've got tips and tools and resources for you, but pre-scheduling as much of your content as possible. So let's say that you want to post 3 times a week on Instagram, and tomorrow, so on Friday, you're going to schedule all 3 of those posts out. So you plan them, you schedule them. Then what that means is next week, you get to spend your time on Instagram engaging instead of posting. This is where it gets really good because you want to schedule time to engage with your content, yes, but also other people's content as well. This is where you get to connect with new people and really foster some relationships that can grow on Instagram. So again, I've got questions all the time here because that's how you're going to start thinking about things differently when it comes to Instagram. And I want you to think about the last time someone sent you a question through a DM, through a direct message on Instagram. And if the answer is never, or no one has, or no one that you don't know in person or whatever, I want you to think about how could you have that happen? How could you encourage that to happen? Because when you can do this and have conversations in the direct messages, everything changes. This is when marketing becomes really, really fun because you're actually communicating with a real person on the other side and you can connect with them and you can learn from them And super bonus, it helps you create more content. It's amazing what can happen once you start having conversations, not just in the comments of your post, but also in direct messages and story interactions. It's really, really helpful when you focus on engagement. I wanted to share an engagement example that is one of my absolute favorites. You'll see that I use this all the time on Instagram, and it's to use the question sticker on Instagram stories. If you're confused by this, trust me, we're going to go through stories, but this is what it looks like. So as you can see here, and I used this today. So I'm wearing the same shirt. You can see this on my Instagram account. I did this on purpose. I asked a question on Instagram using the sticker on Instagram stories that said, what would feel joyful for you to sell right now? And just so you know, the next question I usually get when I say use this question sticker and actually get some comments back is, I don't want to show my face. It's usually what I get. Like, how can I do that? And you can do it without showing your face. I do that as well. So you can see here, I just used text and put the question box. So this was not today. You can't see this on my stories today, but you could see that I did this before where I have text and then I use the question box. This allows people to tap the box and answer right there. And then you get to have a conversation with them. Whether one person responds or 100, it doesn't matter. It's really cool to start connecting with people over this question box, and it works really, really well. Here was another one, and I actually use this one pretty frequently. About once a week, I'll ask, how can I help you today? And when I do this, I get so much interaction. And again, when I say so much, maybe two people send me something, but I'm able to share something with them. And I can even take that. Let's say Jessica sends me something that says, I would love to know more about Instagram stories. What I can do is respond to Jessica and tell her some information about Instagram stories. But what I can also do is then go to my Instagram stories and share that same information with everyone who's following me. I don't have to tell everyone that Jessica asked the question. I just answer that question. So you can do the same thing in your business as well. Okay, I hope that was a good example. And now you've got like a real life example. Hopefully that's happening. I'm not going to check the chat right now, but if you have questions, make sure to be putting them in that question box because I will make sure to have, I'm looking at the time, making sure we'll have plenty of time for questions at the end. And now we're going to go through some resources and tools. And so here are a few things. Scheduling. So I mentioned pre-schedule your content. There are two applications that I would suggest for this. One is Facebook Creator Studio and one is Later. You choose whichever one you want. You can schedule both Instagram and Facebook on either option. Both are wonderful. And the next thing I usually get questions about when I talk about pre-scheduling is, Amanda, I've heard that the algorithm doesn't like it when you pre-schedule things. So I am here to tell you that there may be some truth in that in terms of if you are publishing it live on the spot versus scheduling it. However, I have tested the heck out of this and I have not seen enough of a difference for me to not schedule things. So I have seen growth on Instagram and on Facebook, and I schedule everything possible. I don't schedule my stories because those you have to do live, but any posts you see are scheduled. The other thing that I would remind everyone of is that how often have you told yourself, I'm going to post 3 times this week on Instagram? And then you got to the end of the week and you posted 0 times, maybe once. How many people are like mentally raising your hand right now? Probably a lot of you, because we've all done it. Life gets in the way. So let's say, for sake's sake, that you do get dinged on the algorithm and your post gets shown to 60% of people instead of 100. Even though we know the algorithm doesn't show it to 100, but let's pretend for a minute that it shows it to 60% of people instead of 100. Well, 60% is better than 0, right? So if you schedule, you are going to be ahead of what you're doing, even if you get dinged by the algorithm. So I really highly encourage everyone to schedule post as much as possible because you're going to be more consistent. And that's what the algorithm cares about more than anything. And you don't have to know everything about the algorithm to make this work. But I'm sharing the tips that you came here for today, and it's please be consistent. And posting and pre-scheduling your post really makes that happen. So if you want to do any video editing and you are looking for an application for that, InShot is a great app. You do not need to do video editing to use Instagram, but I just usually get this question. There's a free version of InShot app, but there's also a paid version. It's a few dollars a year. And I highly recommend it because there's a watermark if you use the free version, and you can just pay a few dollars a year and get that watermark taken off. But there is the free option. Also, for tutorials and tips on Instagram, please, please, please follow Natasha at Shine with Natasha. She has a website there. She also has a podcast, the Shine Online Podcast, and she's obviously on Instagram, Shine with Natasha. She's fantastic. I had her on my podcast and I've learned from her for over a year now. She's wonderful. So if you're looking for a tutorial, if something happens and you message me and you say, Amanda, I'd really like a tutorial on how to use Reels, I'm going to point you in her direction because she has it all broken down on her Instagram. So go follow her. She's amazing, absolutely wonderful, fantastic human, and just a wonderful teacher of Instagram. And then if you're looking for templates, I have written 50 free social media templates that you can use for Instagram, for Facebook, for any place. They're on my website. I'm going to have my website linked at the very end of this, but I have 50 social media templates for free that you can get access to. They are yoga specific, but you can always tailor them if you are not teaching yoga. You can definitely change those up. So if you have any tips, please put them in the chat. Share with each other some tips that you have on Instagram. Maybe you know someone else who teaches something on Instagram really well. Put that in the chat, share with each other. It's great information. So now we're going to go through the types of content. And there's tons of content on Instagram, like different types. So we're going to go through it. And then this is probably where most of the questions are going to come in. But I want to make sure to go through all of these, and I'm going to share examples. And then I promise, I'll be answering questions. So keep putting them in that Q&A. I just want to make sure we get through this because I'll probably answer a lot of questions that you might have. So the first thing is the post that we've been talking about, and that is on your grid. So that is the square that you see if you go to someone's profile on Instagram and you see the 9 squares, which is what you can see on their profile. That is the grid, and that is Instagram post. The next thing I was talking about are stories. That is the vertical 15-second video or image that are only up for 24 hours. You can see stories by going to the small little circles at the top of Instagram, and you click on that and you'll scroll through the 15-second video, images, whatever it is that the person has shared. That's where you can put those stickers on, where I was talking about the question sticker. You can do polls there. You can share funny GIFs. There's all kinds of things you can do with stories. And that's really where I want you to be playing around to see, is this something that I really like doing? Because playing around is the only way that you'll learn stories. That's the only way I did it. When I first was experimenting with stories, I basically said to my audience, who was maybe not even watching, who knows? And I was like, I'm just going to experiment with stories this week. And so every day for a whole week, I just did whatever I could find on stories. Like if there was a countdown, I put a countdown for nothing. I just wanted to see what it would do. And I did everything that I could just to play around and see what was interesting, what you all engaged with when you were following me at that time, so that it could inform the strategy that I now have. So playing around is a lot of fun with stories. IGTV is Instagram's answer to YouTube. So it's pre-recorded video that is up for longer than 24 hours. It's vertical in the land or the orientation, so it's vertical video as well. IG Live is what it sounds like. It's Instagram Live. And so you go live for whoever is following you on Instagram. And you can take a live because it's only up there on Instagram for 24 hours. You can take a live and also add it to IGTV so people can watch it later. But you would record it live, or you don't really record it, it records it for you. You go live and then you can push it to IGTV. Reels is Instagram's answer to TikTok. So if you're familiar with TikTok and they're really quick 15 to 30-second videos that are fun, engaging, and whatever you want them to be, it forces you to get really clear on a message very quickly because you have 15 or 30 seconds to communicate a message. So it's a fantastic way to try and boil down a message in a really short amount of time. So absolutely fun and engaging content on Reels. Guides is something that I haven't seen a ton of interaction with yet, but it's a really neat concept. So guides are where you can curate a list of content. So if I wanted to put a list of posts or reels or post and reels and stories or whatever together because it was a common theme, I could create a guide that would help someone go through that content in a row instead of having to search for different things. Again, go to Natasha's Instagram account. She has a few guides that are super helpful to kind of wrap your mind around what they are. So we've talked about this at the very beginning, but if you didn't chime in at the beginning, what are your favorite types of content on Instagram? Let everyone know, just so it's like, oh, we all learn from each other. So now we're going to talk about repurposing. This is the example section that I think you're going to really enjoy because all of these things, right? We have a lot of options and it can get overwhelming so fast. So fast. So what I wanted to show you is that if you want to really have a simple, like basic strategy of Instagram, I'm going to give it to you so that you can just run with it. And then you're going to play and learn along the way, but keeping it really, really simple. And we're going to use one piece of content to allow everything else to kind of be fed into. So repurposing is that phrase of how we're going to repurpose one piece of content onto the different areas of Instagram. So like we were just talking about creating a system and also tapping into other pieces of marketing. So if you're creating for something else, because oftentimes I'll have people come to me and say, Amanda, marketing takes a really long time. And I'm not going to lie, marketing does take time, and you are going to probably increase that time as you continue to grow your business. But there are ways to streamline everything. So if you're creating YouTube videos, that can inform what's on Instagram as well. So you can really think about how other pieces of the puzzle of your business can feed into Instagram. So it's not this additional thing that you're doing. So I really want you to think about that and thinking about, what do you have right now? What do you already have? Do you have a pre-recorded video of some sort? Do you have an email? Do you have any type of content, blog post that you could then repurpose to put on Instagram? So I want you to start thinking in terms of how you can repurpose even other content onto Instagram. So here's an example of if we're only talking about Instagram. You've got no blog, no YouTube videos, no emails, nothing. You're like, I'm starting from scratch. Here is a way that you could share 3 days a week on Instagram, only using Instagram. So this is what it would look like. And we're going to walk through each of these steps. But I created these little icons so that hopefully it's like it sinks in. You can go live, create a story, and then a post. And that's 3 days a week. So here's what that would look like broken down. Let's say you decide that on Mondays, you're going to do coffee and conversation. So you're going to go live on Instagram, drinking your coffee or your tea, whatever you want to have, and talk about something, a certain topic. And then from that, you're going to share that live onto your story and to your grid. And you can even make that an IGTV as well. And then on Wednesday, what you're going to do is take the message from that live and create a story about that same topic. So maybe you show your face, maybe it's all graphics that you share. It does not matter. What you want to do is take that same topic. So it was like coffee and conversation. Maybe you started talking about your morning routine. So if you're talking about your morning routine over coffee and you're sharing, and who cares if anyone else is there live with you, does not matter. People can watch it later. And what you're going to do is you're going to keep talking about the same topic all week so that you're continuing the conversation. And what you'll do is you'll take that same topic of maybe that morning routine and create a story about it. And bonus points if you use that question sticker and says, "What's your morning routine?" and get some conversation going. So then you could take a quote from your live or from maybe even that question box that you used, finding some way to connect with that same topic of that morning routine, and you would create a post to go out on Friday. Again, all of this is tied together and it's all just from one Instagram live. You're just repurposing that same concept and same topic so that you're sharing it over a span of several days instead of always trying to come up with something new. So, another idea is taking another piece of content that's off of Instagram and then sharing it on Instagram for 3 days a week. So, this idea is maybe you have a blog post. So, if you've been writing blogs or thinking about writing blogs, what you can do is take that blog post, you can create a reel, a post, and a live. These are just 3 ideas that you could do. And so, this is what this would look like. So, you take that weekly blog post and turn that into one Instagram reel. You would share that, and keeping in mind that reels are teaching, entertaining, and inspiring. These are things you're going to do on Instagram all the time, but definitely thinking about it for reels. So you'd share that reel on Monday. And then remember, you would share the reel to your story and to your grid also. So there's some buttons when you go to share a reel that you can share it to your grid as well. So you'd want to check that. I forget if it's a toggle or a check, it's something. Share it to your grid and it would automatically do that. And then what you do is you take the post that it shared to your grid and you would share that to your story. You can also share the reel in and of itself. But if you have questions, let me know and I'll do my best to like show what that looks like. But you'd want to make sure to share it everywhere so that it's giving you even more exposure to that one reel. Then you would take that same message from that reel and create a post about that same topic and post that on Wednesday. So you could pre-schedule that post because you already have the blog. You can pre-schedule that out for Wednesday. And then again, you can share that in your story to give some more context around that as well. And then you would take that same message and you could go live about that same topic on Thursday. And look at how much content this is giving you from one blog post. Just one blog post. You could probably do this if you had one blog post a month. You could do this every week and just pick one tiny piece of your blog post. And you could still do this every single week. So there's another example where we're talking about another piece of content, but sharing every day. So I wanted you to see how this can be possible because we've talked about 3 times a week, but this is how you could do it for every single day. Now, please remember, you don't have to do this. You absolutely do not have to be posting on Instagram every day, but I just wanted you to see how it's possible. And this would look like a YouTube video would become an IGTV, would become a post, a reel, and 2 more posts. And this is what you could do on Instagram for a whole week from one YouTube video. So you take that YouTube video and you literally take a clip of it. You take a snippet of the already done YouTube video and turn it into an IGTV. You'd share that on Monday. And remember to share to your story to get even more views on that IGTV. And then create a post and post about it on Tuesday, that same topic. And then you would also share that in your story to give more context. And you see how we're playing with stories here because they go away after 24 hours. So you can show a little bit more in depth information and talk to people and have that engagement on that same topic because it goes away after 24 hours, but you can still have that engagement. And then on Wednesday, you would share the reel. You would have a reel that's related to that YouTube video, which you could take those clips again, same clip, and say that there's more in the full YouTube video. Like you're still using the same content. And then you would create a post about that for Thursday. And again, you could use that question box to really start to engage with people about that topic. And then on Friday, you can just have fun. So maybe it's loosely related to that YouTube video, but maybe it's just a fun Friday post. And that's still okay because you've been sharing every day about this content and it's all related. Something else you can do for that fun Friday post is maybe throughout the week, you've shared the YouTube video, you've shared all of this content on Instagram. Maybe you got a really great question throughout the week or an aha moment. That's what you could share on that Friday post as well. So we're going to talk about your next step and then it's question time. So we've got plenty of time. We've got about 15 minutes left for questions, but your next step is to play. I just gave you tons of information that you can come back to, but I want you to play around. I want you to create a reel, use stories, start posting, experiment with what you like to do on Instagram and what your students will engage with. And then you can figure out how to get consistent and increase that engagement. So everything is about learning. You're going to continue to learn and adjust along the way. And that's so, so important. So remember that. And it does get easier. I really, really promise it does get easier. And so if you're looking for any additional support and more help with Instagram, those tools and resources are there. I also have a course and a membership that includes information on Instagram. You can find all the information at amandamckinney.com/offering tree. Scroll a little bit down and you'll see all of this listed. So I want to take some questions and I'll put that in the chat so I don't have to show this the whole time because I want to take some questions. And Camille, did I miss anything in the chat the whole time?
I'm just coming on to, facilitate the question time, be here for you.
Yes.
Yeah, so Amanda, can you see the Q&A in the chat, okay?
I sure can.
Great.
I sure can. Camille, can you do me a huge favor since I said I would put that in the chat? Can someone, anyone really, put amandamckinney.com/offering tree in the chat while I start
I'll
answering?
get that.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, so let's see how, okay. Unclear on how to share information you give to one person with others. Okay, like when I said, like, if Jessica asked me this question. So what I would do here is if someone asks you a question, you don't have to say that person asked you the question. So all you would do is, like if someone said, Amanda, how do you share questions on Instagram? If you ask me that question on Instagram, I wouldn't have to give you attribution to it. I would just share on my stories. I like video a lot, so I speak to the camera often. So I would prefer just to talk and talk through that process. If I think I need to show a video, I would show a video of something else, but I would really talk through the process because you only got 15 seconds. So I talk really fast and continue to watch my stories because you'll see how I do this often. I don't typically share people's names when they share like one of those question box answers with me. I don't share people's names typically unless I say I'm going to, and then I just answer them. And you can actually use the question. So if someone said, how do you do this? I could show the answer to that question without showing the person's name. And so it could hang out like under my face when I'm answering the question. Okay. Pia says, what about Facebook Business Suite? That's what Facebook is asking me to use right now. Interesting. Maybe they changed the name. It was Creator Studio the last time I looked, but maybe it's Business Suite now. They do change things. I use Later. I don't use Facebook Creator Studio. I did test it out. It worked just fine. I just have been using Later for years. So I would think that it's probably the same. Pia, I would look in even just Google what's the difference between Facebook Business Suite and Facebook Creator Studio, and get that answer for sure, since I'm not 100% sure.
So Facebook Business Suite, that might be where they're asking you to run ads out of. That's what I use to like Facebook ads. So Business Suite can be used for that too. So that's maybe why Facebook wants you to use it.
Yes. So yeah, Ads Manager is what it's labeled as for me, but it could be under Business Suite. So I think Christy's saying there are two different things. So Pia, if it's completely two different things and it's not allowing you to schedule anything, Facebook Creator Studio is the option for scheduling in Facebook. Another question about Hootsuite. So Hootsuite is wonderful if that is what you're familiar with. I never really used Hootsuite when I first started this, and so I use Later. And the only thing I would say is to double and triple check that Hootsuite is a partner with Facebook. Later is a partner of Facebook. So remember when I was saying earlier, like you might get dinged for using a third party app to schedule things. You just want to make sure that Hootsuite is one of those partners. So I would just Google that and just double check. But I have definitely had yoga teachers tell me they use Hootsuite and it's been no problem whatsoever. It's really what works for you. Because again, 30% is better than 0%. So use Hootsuite to schedule things if you already know the system. I cannot say enough about just use what works for you. It does not matter what anyone else says works for them. Find what works for you. Another question about the scheduler versus Hootsuite, Facebook scheduler. Again, I would say try everything you can to like use something, and if it works for you, if it's simple, if it feels easy, use that, put the blinders on and don't worry about anything else. If someone tells you that there's this other scheduling thing, but you've got a system that works for you, stay there. Stay there, because we as helpers in the world, right? Like me as a marketing coach, I'm going to share the tools that work for me, but maybe it doesn't work for you. So find the one that works for you that does the same thing. The end game is scheduling. If it lets you schedule on Instagram, on Facebook, use it. That will help you just find that consistency. How far in advance do I schedule? I'm assuming you're talking about me, schedule my post for the process. I schedule mine weekly. I have yoga teachers that I work with. Some do weekly, some do monthly. It just depends on what works for you and how far ahead you have planned your content and what works for your system, right? So, like every Friday, I know I'm scheduling next week's post. And if I'm taking Friday off, that means I do it on Thursday. It still happens. I just work it into a different day. And so every week I know that that is already planned out so that my time during the week is spent on engagement, not posting. The only thing I do live is the stories. Tara's asking, is once a week worth it? I'm assuming you're meaning posting to Instagram specifically here, since we're talking about Instagram. So I just want to make sure. There is like part of me wants to say yes and part of me wants to say like I want to encourage you to do a little bit more. However, quality is so much better than quantity. So if you have one amazing post a week, you're doing great. If unless like as opposed to 3 mediocre posts, right? I would rather you put your time and energy into one. However, as you could see during those examples, it's really easy to use one piece of content and share it during the week more times than one. So I would just be like, I would be so sad for that one awesome post to only see the light of day that one day instead of seeing it multiple days. So I would say post, and then at least another time during the week, do a story, even if it's just sharing that post to your story. Find another way to extend that reach, because you do want to have some more content, meaning give that one piece of content more life, not necessarily recreating the wheel with another post. Just give that one post more life on Instagram. All right. Sasha's saying, how do you measure that the time you're spending on Instagram is actually translating into sales? Oh, this is such a great question. First, thank you so much for asking it, because this is a this is something that usually comes up after the consistency and the strategy comes into play. Then it's like, what the heck am I doing? Is this really translating into something? So it's really tough, to be very open. It's very, very tough to translate what happens on social media to direct sales. And here's why. Because most of the time, people see things on Instagram, see things on social media, whatever platform it is, and they don't take action right from there. That's the reminders. That's why Instagram and Facebook, and it's the giving, it's the tools, it's the sharing. You're building that know, like, and trust, so that when you send the email to sell something, people buy it. People typically buy from email. So there is that. Email is definitely the place where you can track direct sales. So it is very hard. What I would say is start with a minimum amount of time, in terms of like whatever time you can give it for. If you can give Instagram 15 minutes a day and engage with it for 15 minutes a day, and then you schedule your post maybe 30 minutes or an hour a week, right? You're doing that. So you've built up that time. Maybe that's that minimum amount of time. You start doing that, set a timer, keep your time really, really short, and see how is it creating engagement? Is it creating engagement, and are you having conversations? If you are seeing engagement and conversations, I guarantee it's going to help you grow your business. Guarantee it. If you're not seeing engagement, I would start to tweak something, because then it could be a waste of time because you're not seeing the engagement happen. But you got to give it time. Like, you're not going to see engagement right away. So I would say set yourself a very minimum amount of play time and consistency and that little bit of strategy, and give it 3 months and check back in and see how it feels. All right, for fitness yoga instructors, where do you recommend getting inspiration for new content that is appealing to today's Instagram users? So, Mohammed, this is a great question. And really, what matters here is your students. It does not matter what the average person is interested in on Instagram, right? You want to think about who is your dream student and what are they engaging with? Who else are they following? Look there for ideas and inspiration. Look to what you know about your dream student, because you really want to hone in on your specialty, your niche, and how you want to share content. And anytime I can say to utilize the content platform, like the actual like reels versus stories or post, like if anyone said, Amanda, what should I be focused on right now? If I can only pick one, I would say reels. I would say reels right now. If you're not there and you don't want to do reels, stories. Posts are great, and I would want you to have some post happening, but people are engaging with stories and reels more. So that's in terms of types of tips, but um, inspiration, just look where your dream students are, and you can get a lot of inspiration from there. Okay, we have lots of questions now coming in. So we have 2 minutes left. I'm going to do my best to get through as many questions as possible, but we might have to continue this conversation somewhere else. So Camille, I'm just letting you know. Okay, how do you get emails from Instagram? This is a great place to share your freebie. In your link in bio, you would want to have access to your freebie. You talk about your freebie, which gets them on your email list. If that is foreign, tell Camille. We'll do it. We'll talk about freebies another day. Do I have any tips about growing a following? So, my first tip is it doesn't matter how many people are following you. And I know that's a really annoying answer, but it really doesn't. I would rather you have 50 people who engage with every single post, every single story that you have, comment on things and love on your content rather than 10,000 people who don't. So, it doesn't matter the number of people that are following you. Anyone who says that is not being truthful. And so it really matters about engagement. But I would say the best way to grow the following of the number of people who you feel you need, whether that's 10, 100, or whatever, is to know who your person is and speak to them and give, give, give. The more you give, the more people are going to be engaging with the content, and the more the algorithm will show it to more people like them. So you will grow. Okay. Hashtags. Whoo, that one's a tough one. Hashtags are hard. I have seen more and more people saying to use all 30. You can have 30 hashtags, and it's really topical. Know your niche, use topical hashtags. That's the best thing I can say. It is kind of another strategy and another topic, but I would say don't worry about it. If you're at the beginning of working with Instagram, don't worry about hashtags. Just play around. Maybe you put some in there, but don't worry too much about it. Okay, I think I got to the last one. I feel like every follower is hard one. I see these followers come and go as well. It's so true. I want you to really consider like who is your person, who do you really want following you, and give them content, and don't get caught up in the numbers. Don't I hope you don't know how many followers you have right now and tomorrow you check and you see a higher or lower number. I hope you don't even pay attention to that. Look at the insights section of Instagram and look at how many people are clicking to your website from Instagram. How many people are engaging and sharing and saving your content? Those are the numbers that actually matter. The numbers that other people can see, the how many likes you have, how many followers you have, those are vanity metrics that don't matter. The things that matter are behind a wall that only you can see as the owner of that account. Okay, one more.
One more. Last question, everybody.
Do you typically say to send people to YouTube from IGTV or put the whole thing up on IGTV as well? This would really depend on your strategy. If you are focused on growing YouTube, then you would want to have a clip and send them to YouTube. If you're really honing in on growing Instagram, you would want to keep everything on IGTV.
Well, we did it. Thank you, Amanda, so much for that great webinar. I know I learned a few things. It was really helpful just to hear those basics broken down. Amanda really knows what she's talking about. So give her a follow on Instagram, sign up for her emails, and follow Offering Tree because we work together a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, so, and we'll also send out a recording and Amanda's slides following this talk. So don't worry if you missed anything, we'll get to you. And join the Offering Tree Facebook group and suggest some more topics for these webinars. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.